Dear students, in this module we will try to understand about the forced migration trends and patterns and net migration, net international migration. So, this module gives us an understanding about the global trends in international migration and global trends and patterns with regard to forced migration and refugees. Then definition of net migration will also be covered, besides the global trends in net international migration. Let us look at the global migration trends. In 2015, number of international migrants worldwide, that is people residing in a country other than their country of birth, was highest ever recorded. It reached 244 million from 232 million in 2013. As a share of the world population, however, the international migration remained fairly constant over the past decades at around 3%. If we look at the male-female ratio, the female migrants constitutes 48% of the international migrant stock worldwide, and the figure is about 42% in case of Asia. Women make up majority of the international migrants in Europe and North America. It is about 52% and 51% respectively. The south-south migration flows across developing countries continue to increase compared to the south-north movements from developing to developed countries. In the year 2015, 90.2 million international migrants born in developing countries resided in other countries in the global south. On the other hand, 85.3 million people born in the south resided in countries in the global north. Germany became the second most popular destination for international migrants at the global level in terms of absolute numbers, following the United States and preceding the Russian Federation. Germany had an estimated 12 million foreign born residing in the country in 2015, against 46.6 million in the US and 11.9 million in the Russian Federation. So, the United States of America, Germany and the Russian Federation, the statistics for these three countries are presented here. As a proportion of the host country's population, number of international migrants continue to be highest in the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Foreign born population makes up about 88% of the total population in the United Arab Emirates and 75.7% in case of Qatar and 74% about in case of Kuwait. Close to 1 in 5 migrants in the world live in top 20 largest cities according to the IOM's World Migration Report of 2015. International migrants make up over a third of the total population in cities such as Sydney, Auckland, Singapore and London. At least 1 in 4 residents in cities like Amsterdam, Frankfurt and Paris is foreign born. The year 2015 saw the highest levels of forced displacement. Globally, this year recorded the highest number of forced migrants since the World War II. We should understand about the trends in the forced displacement, because this is an emerging challenge for the humanity, given the human rights related issues involved in forced displacement. there has been a dramatic increase in the number of refugees, asylum seekers and internally displaced people across various regions of the world, starting from Africa to the Middle East and the South Asia. The world hosted 15.1 million refugees by mid 2015. This is an increase of about 45% compared to the 3.5 years ago figures. This is largely because of the continued conflict in the Syrian Arab Republic. Now it is well into its 5th year. Some 8.6 million people were newly displaced in 2015 alone. In 2015, Germany also became the largest single recipient of first time individual asylum claims globally, with almost 442,000 applications lodged in the country by the end of 2015. Number of asylum claims worldwide almost doubled between the end of 2014 and first half of 2015, from about 558,000 pending applications at the end of 2014 to almost 1 million pending applications by end of June 2015. The figure of forced displacement related migrants continued to increase, raising to about 3.2 million pending asylum applications globally by the end of 2015. By the end of 2015, the European Union as a whole received over 1.2 million first time asylum claims. This is more than double the number registered in the year 2014 and almost double the levels recorded in 1992 in the then 15 member states. Increase in 2015 is largely because of the higher number of asylum claims from Syrians, Afghans and Iraqis. Almost 1 in the 3 first time asylum applications, almost 1 in 3 first time asylum applicants in the European Union were minors. It is an increase of 9% compared to the level recorded in 2014. 1 in 4 of these were judged to be unaccompanied by national authorities. This is the highest number since the 2008 and this indicates threefold increase in terms of numbers registered in 2014. Still, vast majority of the refugees continue to be hosted by developing countries, particularly those that are proximate to the refugees' countries of origin. For example, bulk of the Syrian refugee population is hosted by Turkey, 2.2 million, Lebanon 1.2 million and Jordan almost 630,000, according to the statistics available in December 2015. Most of the forced displacement globally still occurs within the country's borders, with an estimated 38 million people internally displaced by conflict and violence at the end of 2014, from Iraq to South Sudan, from Syria to the Democratic Republic of Congo and Nigeria. 2015 was also the deadliest year for migrants, with increased levels of forced displacement globally were tragically accompanied by record high numbers of people perishing or going missing while trying to cross international borders. Over 5,400 migrants worldwide are estimated to have died or gone missing in the year 2015. According to the IOM's Missing Migrant Project, migrant fatalities during migration to Europe increased by 15% compared to the previous year. From 2014 to 2015, a major and sudden shift in the routes of irregular migration by sea to Europe also has taken place, with about 853,000 arriving to Greece compared to almost 154,000 to Italy, opposed to about 34,400 and 170,100 respectively in the year 2014. In 2014, number of voluntary returns of migrants, that is failed asylum seekers and other groups from European countries, was for the first time higher than the number of forced returns. Let us talk about the voluntary return migrants. Number of IOM assisted voluntary returns from the EU member states, Norway and Switzerland in 2015 reached almost 56,000. The new estimates for number of migrant workers globally indicate that majority of the international migrants in the world are migrant workers. Migrants have higher labor force participation than the non-migrants due to higher labor force participation rates for migrant women relative to non-migrant women. Let us now talk about remittances. Remittances continue to climb globally, while the cost involved with sending remittances remain relatively high. Sum of financial remittances sent by international migrants back to their families in the origin countries. This amounted to an estimated $581 billion in the year 2015. In Tajikistan, the remittances constituted over 40% of the nation's GDP. Average remittance transfers costs were still at 7.5% of the amount sent in the third quarter of the 2015. This is higher than the 3% minimum target set in the Sustainable Development Goals to be met by 2030. The remittance transfer costs are particularly high in the sub-Saharan Africa and standing now at about 9.5% on an average. Now let us move to the concept of net migration. Net migration for a given country and time period refers to the difference between number of immigrants and number of immigrants. If more people immigrate than emigrate, the country gains the population due to the positive net migration or net immigration. When more people immigrate than immigrate, the country loses population through negative net migration or net immigration. The data on net immigration presented in various reports do not include information on the country or region of origin or destination. For regions or groups of countries, level of net migration reflects only the movements from or to countries located outside region or group. For the world as a whole, level of net migration is 0. Let us look at the global trends in terms of net migration, international migration. From 1950 to 2015, developed regions gained population due to positive net migration. On the other hand, the developing regions lost population as a result of negative net migration. During 1950 and 2010, magnitude of net inflow of migrants to developed regions increased steadily, and it reached an average of 3.2 million per year between 2000 and 2010. After 2010, size of net inflow of persons to developed regions declined for the first time in 5 decades, and it fell to 2.3 million per year between 2010 and 2015. Much of the recent decline in net flow of migrants to developed regions was primarily due to reduction in net migration to Europe that declined by over half. Level of net migration to the Northern America and Oceania was stable during 2000 and 2015. Both Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean experienced recent decline in net outflow of migrants. For Asia as a whole, annual net immigration fell from 1.9 million between 2000 and 2010 to 1.3 million between 2010 and 2015. Net immigration from Latin America and the Caribbean dropped by half, from 0.8 to 0.4 million per annum. The net outflow from Africa increased from 0.3 million per annum between 2000 and 2010 to 0.6 million between 2010 and 2015. Between 2000 and 2010, among the 232 countries comprising total population of the world, 95 gained population from net immigration, while 134 countries lost population due to net immigration. By the period 2010 and 2015, the number of countries or areas gaining population due to positive net migration reduced to 89, while number of countries or areas losing population due to negative net migration increased to 137. If we look at the regional differences, in the developed regions, majority of the countries experienced positive net migration. This number decreased from 41 between 2000 and 2010 to 33 in 2010 to 2015. On the other hand, in the developed regions, majority of the countries experienced negative net migration in both the time reference points. The number of countries recording net inflows of migrants increased in Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean and Oceania, and it decreased in case of Africa and Europe and remained same in case of Northern America. Countries that gained population from positive net migration between 2000 and 2010 and between 2010 and 2015 were the traditional countries of immigration, and these include Australia, Canada, New Zealand and the United States of America. This list of countries that gained population from positive net migration also include a few countries that started to experience increasing levels of immigration between 2000 and 2010, and these include Italy and the Russian Federation. Countries in the developing regions that were recruiting migrant laborers on large scale, and these include Qatar, Singapore and the United Arab Emirates. These countries were among the countries experiencing positive net migration in both the time reference points. Among the countries that experienced net immigration between 2000 and 2015 were the traditional countries of immigration, and these include Bangladesh, China, India, Mexico and the Philippines. Many countries had long-standing relationships with traditional countries of immigration such as Canada, the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Other countries had newly established ties with countries in the southeastern or western Asia, and these countries were the recruiting countries for foreign workers. 8 countries, all from the developing regions, transitioned from being a net immigrating country between 2000 and 2010 to being a net immigration country between 2010 and 2015. For some of the countries, including Iraq or Turkey, shift was mainly due to influx of refugees from the neighboring countries during the latter period. Another 15 countries worldwide transitioned from being a net immigration country between 2000 and 2010 to being a net immigration country between 2000 and 2015. and these countries include Ireland, Portugal and Spain, and these countries, the countries that emerged as major destinations for international migrants during early 2000s, but later experienced large scale net outflows of both natives as well as immigrants during 2010 and 2015. Europe counted largest number of countries that transitioned from net immigration to net emigration during this period, followed by Africa. Europe had 8 countries in this category, while Africa had 7 countries in this category. Between 2010 and 2015, Australia, Canada, Germany, Lebanon, Turkey and the USA were among the countries with highest levels of net immigration. On the other hand, Bangladesh, India and Mexico ranked among the countries with highest levels of net immigration. Compared to 2000 to 2010, Italy, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, the UAE and the UK moved down on the list of countries with highest levels of net immigration. Australia, Canada, Germany, Lebanon, Oman, South Sudan and Turkey moved up on the list. When we talk about the list of countries with highest levels of net immigration, Bangladesh, Mexico, Myanmar, the Philippines and Vietnam moved down in 2010 to 15 period. Pakistan and the Syrian Arab Republic were among the countries that moved up on the list. Having discussed about the net migration trends and patterns across the various regions of the world, let us have a look at the figure 1 that gives average annual net migration by major area from 1950-70 to 2010-2015. The figures are given in millions for Africa, Asia, Europe, LAC, North America and Oceania. Here LAC refers to the Latin America and the Caribbean, NA refers to the Northern America. From 1950-70 to 1970-90, we can see the kind of changes that happened in average annual net migration in different major areas of the world. Similarly, we can also see the changes in the subsequent periods, namely 1990, 2000, 2000 to 2010 and finally to 2010, 2015. Let us move to table number 1 that gives the number of countries with positive or negative net migration during 2000 and 2010 and 2010 to 2015, and those with a change in the direction of net migration between 2010 and 2000 to 2010 and 2010 to 2015. The world as a whole had experienced positive net migration to the tune of 95 million in 2000 to 2010 and it changed to 89 by 2010-2015. The next column talks about the number of countries with negative net migration. Across the world, 134 countries were having negative net migration during 2000 and 2000 to 2010, and the figure was 137 during the period 2010 to 2015. In case of the developed regions, 15 countries in 2000 to 2010 were having negative net migration, whereas 23 countries in 2010-2015 were having negative net migration. 41 of the developed countries were having positive net migration during 2000 and 2010, and 33 countries from the developed region were having positive net migration in terms of the net immigration during 2010-2015. The table 2 gives the top 10 countries with the highest and the lowest levels of net migration. During 2000 to 2010, the top 10 countries with net immigration were United States of America, followed by Spain, UAE, Russian Federation, Italy, UK, South Africa, Canada, Saudi Arabia and Australia. In case of 2010-2015, USA remains at number 1, followed by Turkey, Lebanon, Germany, Oman, Canada, Russian Federation, Australia, UK and South Sudan. Panel B tells us about the various countries with net immigration scenario. These countries for the period 2000 to 2010 included Bangladesh, India, China, Mexico, Philippines, Myanmar, Pakistan, Indonesia, Nepal and Vietnam. By 2010 to 2015, the list included countries like Syrian Arab Republic, followed by India, Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, Sudan, Indonesia, Philippines, Spain and Mexico. We know the situation and the factors responsible for this situation in Syrian Arab Republic. So, now let us summarize the aspects that were covered in this module. We looked at the global trends in international migration. We also looked at the patterns relating to forced migration and refugees. Then we discussed about the countries that were gaining population, that were losing population due to excessive immigration or excessive immigration. We also looked at the number of international migrants, the people residing in a country other than their country of birth, and the recent statistics indicate highest number of international migrants, and however the percentage share of the migrants to the world population remained more or less same, and south-south migration flows were emerging as dominating, and Germany, United States and the Russian Federation, if you put them in the order, the United States of America, Germany and the Russian Federation, they were in the order of popular destinations, and the foreign born population makes up about 4/5 of the total population of the United Arab Emirates. The UAE, Qatar and the Kuwait, these three countries were having very high level of foreign born population in terms of proportion of foreign born people. We also looked at the forced displacement, and we observed that 2015 saw the highest levels of forced displacement globally, since the World War II, and the world hosted 15.1 million refugees by mid 2015. We also looked at the patterns of settlement of the forced migrants. We looked at the remittances which were on an increasing trend in spite of higher cost involved in sending the remittances. This needs attention because the SDGs prescribe 3% minimum target to be achieved by 2030 as the cost involved for making remittances. We looked at the definition of net migration. It is the difference between the number of immigrants and the number of immigrants. We looked at the countries that were gaining population. We looked at the countries that were losing population. We also looked at the list of countries that were gaining population and losing population. Countries like India, Bangladesh, the Syrian Arab Republic, they were the countries that were losing population because of excessive immigration, whereas countries like United States of America were gaining population due to higher number of immigrants. So, this module provided us a fair understanding about various aspects relating to migration flows, international migration trends, and the forced migration patterns, the number of people affected because of forced migrations, the casualties happening among the people who are trying to migrate in a displaced situation, and we also looked at the net gain or net loss in terms of migration at regional level and at area level, namely the developed, more developed, less developed and the least developed countries. So, this module is very helpful for us in understanding about the international migration and net migration related issues, besides the issues related to refugees in terms of the trends and the patterns. Thank you very much.